There we go, the start of the Visitors Challenge Cup, the semi-final between University of Washington on the left-hand side of your picture and closest to the island, Thames Rowing Club and Leander Club. They battle off the start. How does it look to you, Tom?
Yeah, it looked like Washington had the better of the two starts, just a bit of a jilt on the rudder there from Thames and Leander on the right-hand side, and I think that didn't allow them to get as clean a sort of opening sequence as they would have hoped. But Washington there, you can see the umpire warning Thames and Leander back onto their station. Washington, the power of the Huskies. They know how to race in this sort of format. They do it all season, and they probably got the slightest of leads coming out of Temple Island.
This looks like being another great race. Washington just edging, moving. They have a fantastic program in Washington. Their chief coach, Michael Callahan, oversees it all, and he brings together athletes from all over the world. Matthias Holler is from Austria, the bowman in the Washington crew. He's furthest away from us, that crew on the far side. Logan Ulrich in the 3 seat is Australian from Brisbane Grammar School. Gert van Dien in the 2 seat. He's obviously from the Netherlands, given his name. And in the stroke seat, Jack Walkie is Canadian. This is a multinational crew. That's the way they do it at US universities. Handy little lead to have at this stage of the race, Tom.
Yeah, it's so great to see the University of Washington back at Henley. When they bring a crew, Martin, they're always fast. You know, they won the Temple Challenge Cup, and they'll be vying for that again tomorrow in the final. But the Visitors Challenge Cup, they could have dual honours to contest on the Sunday of Henley Royal Regatta. And you look at the smoothness, the way that they row. There's no fuss, there's no histrionics at either end. It's really powerful, it's really composed. And at the moment, paying dividends. They're moving away from Thames and Leander.
So the crew from Washington beat the Dutch crew from Okeanos and Gas pretty comfortably yesterday. Thames Rowing Club had a great row, I thought, against the men from Cambridge University Boat Club. Maybe we can just talk through them a little bit. Matt Christie won the Brit with Molesey BC in 2019. His back is closest to us. Tom Phelps, son of Richard and Anne-Marie, both of them international rowers. The Thames winner in 2017 rowed at Brown. Joe Wolfin on the Fawley in 2017. He rowed at Princeton. So again, American scholarships. Jake Brown won the Thames Cup in 2021. They're all winners. What difference will that make, you know, at this mid-stage of the course to them psychologically?
Well, they won't be as rattled as perhaps they could be. They will know, with the bags of experience they've got, Martin, how to contest this in the best possible way, right? And they won't be too afraid of Washington. They'll know that the guys, the Huskies, will have gone out fast, will have gone out hard, and they'll have that composure. But I think also it will mean that they know what a finishing sprint looks like. I mean, these guys, I remember Joe Wolfin in the Fawley in 2015. I mean, he raced with the Borlase crew that had to come back against Glasgow Academy in the very final strokes. So he's going to know what a sprint looks like at Henley Royal Regatta. But at the moment, Washington on the right-hand side of your picture, just looking like the smooth of the two crews. And I suppose that could come, Martin, from the fact they've been rowing together all year.
They do look great off the back turn, don't they? Body still, hands flowing around the back turn. I know they do a lot of pairs in training, you know, in the early season work, and I think that work in pairs will translate to good smooth rowing for a Cox's Fours. I know they spend a lot of time in the eights during the early summer racing season, but this does look like a crew who know how to move a Cox's Four.
But what I'd love to have seen is Washington coming over in their full 1V, right? But as you pointed out, they're a multinational crew, and a lot of their athletes, after the sort of term ends, they'll go back to their home countries, they'll enter the under-23 systems for trialling, or maybe they'll just want to spend a bit of time with their family. So it's great that they were able to bring 4 athletes over from their varsity crew and compete in the Ladies' Challenge, in the Visitors Challenge Cup, and putting down their best foot here, because they are just, if you look at the crew on the left-hand side, it just looks a little bit more ragged, a little bit more hurried at both ends, whereas Washington in complete control. However, as we've seen several times already, it's not over till it's over at Henley, and just about in touch here, Leander and Thames.
There's a certain aggressivity to Leander and Thames, the crew on the left of your picture. They are still in contact. Contact is what's important. There's around 700 metres to go. You can see the overlap. Washington haven't managed to break clear. And, you know, there'll be looks round from the Leander and Thames bowman, Matthew Christie. He'll be feeding back to his crew. Thomas Phelps in there, very experienced, might be making the calls. And I think that aggressivity is bringing them through a bit.
It definitely is. It's starting to pay dividends. I was perhaps a little scathing in my analysis as they were coming towards us, but this camera angle, it always seems that the crews tend to make their move as they come towards us there, and as they move past, they're closer, they're in closer proximity than I expected. And Thames and Leander now, maybe that experience, the 4 Henley winners in the Cox's Four, they'll now know what it takes to win this race, but it remains to be seen whether they've got the legs, they've got the power, and the composure that Washington have sort of displayed all the way down the course.
So here in the commentary box, we think that it's the University of Washington crew on the right of your picture that just has a narrow lead from the crew from Thames Rowing Club and Leander Club. This is another great race serving up for us if Thames Rowing Club and Leander Club on the left of your screen can just get up a little bit more, and why won't they when the enclosure's roar comes at the finish?
Well,
they're going for it. Sorry,
exactly.
Tom.
No, exactly. Logan Ulrich there. You've seen Washington dead centre. They've not looked out the boat once, but I just saw there three-man Logan Ulrich in the Washington crew. He had a little look, which means that they're feeling the heat. They're feeling the intensity of the chase from Thames and Leander, just divvying off their station a little bit, but getting back straight. And this is the final sprint. And you're right, Martin, the roar of the enclosures, will that be able to just move them through Washington?
You can move a Cox's 4, you can move it really quickly. It's a little bit like an 8, you know, that 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 metres. I think Washington probably have something like 5 or 6 metres on the Thames and Leander Club crew, but they are coming for it, that aggressivity all the way down. They're just banging it in, aren't they?
Well, the horsepower on board must be phenomenal because they're nowhere near as smooth as Washington. You're right, there's no fuss at either end of the stroke from the Huskies, but they're staying in touch, and you can hear the roar of the crowds. That means that they think there's a chance Thames and Leander can come back through here.
So it's the Huskies, the men from University of Washington. On the right of your picture, it's Thames Rowing Club and Leander Club. On the left of your picture, they have battled all the way down, but the smoothness of the Huskies is taking it out now as we come through to the enclosure. That is a great move the Huskies have made.
Yeah, they saw it coming, I think. They knew what was coming from Thames and Leander, and the raggedness just hasn't worked out for them. The smoothness, like you say, the composure. Washington just saw it, and then moved away.
So coming up to the finish line, it is the Huskies on the Berkshire station. They will take the victory in this heat semi-final, I beg your pardon, of the Visitors Challenge Cup. Great race though from Thames Rowing Club and Leander Club, so aggressive all the way down. Those Huskies are going to be difficult to beat, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, that was a clinic in how to row Cox's 4. The boat barely moved, Martin. Every time we saw that back shot, barely even moved, and you can see there how chuffed they are.
And they've got the telemetry on their boat, Tom. So that is telling the coaches and telling the athletes tonight exactly how their force time curves are working, and that might be one reason they've done a lot of work on the telemetry, why they're so smoothly synced in together, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, and all the more impressive for the fact that the conditions aren't optimal here at Henley Regatta. Anyone who's watching knows that this isn't a typical Saturday, or maybe it is a typical Saturday evening in Britain for July, but it's not what we come to expect. But the Huskies just beautifully smooth all the way down, and they were able to see off the attentions of Thames and Leander in the end.